Full time, Cronulla 20. The Roosters season comes to an end 10th.
The Cronulla Sharks are officially through to week 2 of the finals. They will play the loser of tomorrow's match, the Raiders, up against the Broncos. The Sharks with a 10-point win over the Roosters. They finished the first half strong. They finished the second half even stronger, and they were just too good for the Sydney Roosters, Coops.
Yeah, that's a big win for the Sharks. They needed that. Was it one win from 6 finals matches under Craig Fitzgibbon, none from 2 at home in finals. The intensity in that game was there. The finesse, the class, and coming up with a play wasn't probably there from both teams, but you got to admire the commitment, the desperation, because when that final siren went, when Rudolph scored that try in the 76th minute, it meant a lot to every of the Sharks players. It wasn't their best performance, but they did enough to get through and advance to the second week of the finals. And it's a big night for their football club, because there would have been pressure if they had lost that. They got through to week 2.
Yeah, they survived the pressure of the week, and obviously being, maybe one of the first teams to get knocked out of the competition. They hustled really well tonight. Their defence had that intensity that it actually bustled the Roosters' attack, and they created a lot of errors, and you can see how much it meant to them emotionally. The Sharkies, every time the Roosters made an error, they're hustling, they're getting in, they're congratulating each other, they're celebrating it. Yeah, they wanted that. Obviously, they'll go into next week. Like Cooper mentioned, they didn't play well. Both sides didn't play well, but they won it on their pure attitude and their defence.
Yeah, desire and determination are the two words that I think best describes their attitude tonight and the way that they took on the Roosters. They just out-muscled them. They were more disciplined than them, Kieran, and in the end, that was just enough.
Yeah, big win for Cronulla, boys. You know, they had a lot of pressure on them coming into this game tonight, as we touched on pre-show. You know, they hadn't been successful in final matches, so a lot of pressure on them. I thought their big guns stood up tonight, and I thought physically they were really good, and that's probably where they won the battle.
Yeah, I think sometimes you don't play your best football. In finals, you just got to do whatever it takes to do it. I thought Ronaldo Mulitalo, when the game was there, he was good. On the other side, Katoa did a lot of work out of the yardage, and then you move that through to the middle of the field, and I thought their bench was great. I think Talakai, Hamlin, Uele came on, and through that middle phase really got, particularly started that second half. When the Roosters were coming, they kept repelling them, and Craig Fitzgibbon, while there's a lot to improve on, and for them to improve and beat the team that loses tomorrow, I think they can be proud of their effort, because they gave everything they had. And some of their good players, like that try to Rudolph, like 5 minutes to go, game in the balance, he powers over James Tedesco, and the whole Sharks team, in fact, the whole crowd took off because they knew it was a big moment.
You still need to ice those moments. They had everything to lose tonight. They'll have nothing to lose next week against either the Raiders or the Broncos, but there was so much pressure on this team coming into this game. And like you said, Foz, they did deliver. Yes, it wasn't pretty, but it doesn't matter. They got the job done, and it was the try to Toby Rudolph, but that really got them home in the end, and he's not a renowned try scorer. So, it's a big play from a guy that doesn't score too many tries.
Yeah, they just had to find a way to win, and as you touched on, you could see the elation in them at the end of the game. The pressure just released off their shoulders. They would have felt it all week heading into this game, knowing that they haven't been successful in finals. Big crowd out there tonight, and you could just see when Toby went over at the end there, they went up.
Yeah, both sides' attack wasn't exactly crisp, right? But it was almost like they put so much effort into defensive contact and line speed. It was just helter-skelter, making tackle. A lot of fatigue kicked in. Second half errors from the Roosters cost them dearly. But when there was a moment to be had, I think just the commitment and the care factor the Sharks had for that moment delivered. Trindall was great in the first half. He had 2 try assists. He set up 2 tries in the last 5 minutes. And it was the Roosters for the first 30 minutes that got them to the lead. But then either side of half-time, Crichton scored this one. This made it 12-10. It was game on. But then the Sharks, through the Roosters' errors, dominated the last 15 minutes, and just the field position led to Toby Rudolph scoring this with 4 minutes to go.
Yeah, Braden Trindall was the dominant half out there tonight, wasn't he, Kieran? Like he was the dominant half in that pairing with Hines.
Oh, for sure. I thought he took the driver's seat and grabbed hold of it. Nico, although was steady, he certainly wasn't in the driver's seat, and we saw that with Trindall before half-time. you know, he grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck and came up with two really important plays there, which was great by him. A tremendous game in a finals match.
Yeah, he did. The Roosters had, I mean, they started the second half extremely well. And they scored that first try just after half-time to, you know, Crichton. Obviously, Sam Walker had a hand in that. And then they just made errors, like the errors that they've made all year. So, you know, you talk about their completion rates and where they make their errors, they're coming out of yardage all the time. And just, here, Cronulla, here's the Sharks, this is yours.
It's been their Achilles heel, Mal,
all year.
For all year, but for a long time, even a couple of years. And they were terrible tonight. The Roosters were terrible. They honestly gave themselves no chance of winning that game.
Yeah, defensively, I think both teams were going at each other, but then all it would take is one half from either team or just a bit of composure to set a field position and play straight. Both sets of halves were playing sideways, then were rattled in the last play, ineffective kicks at different stages. Yeah, so I think halves from both teams would think, oh, geez, we missed some opportunities tonight. In terms of the Roosters, errors compounded those things, but the point of difference, Trindall, 2 try assists, and that's where it's at.
Yeah, OK. Now, it was a great win from the Cronulla Sharks. How do you think they'll go moving on from here, Foz?
Oh, they're going to have to be better than that, Braith. You know, I thought, credit to them, good win tonight, but they'll have to improve on the back of that performance.
All right, let's get out to the game now. Oh, no, well, let's talk to Braden Trindall's performance. It was, he was the dominant one, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was. I think the fact is for the Sharks that came in, high sort of pressure game, what they needed to do was they kicked early, and I like that when a half, because talk about what Nathan Cleary did in the first game. When a half is kicking early, it says they're sending the message to the rest of the team what type of game we want to set for. And then when you get the field position, come up with footwork, run the football, be a threat. So the fact is, in a tight contest, 20-10, Braden Trindall, 2 try assists, 5 minutes before half-time. That's the difference. In a sloppy affair, Braden Trindall was the main man that said, you know what, this game's there for the taking, I'm going after it, where some of the other halves sort of just come up with errors and didn't really have an impact on the game.
Yeah, it was an interesting game of footy, really. Like you said, both teams were playing quite laterally. They were going side to side. He was the one that did square them up. Sam Walker, he didn't have his best game tonight.
I think in terms of the Roosters in that first stanza of the second half, they had all the field position. Their defence was getting the Sharks under pressure, and he came up with that kick for Crichton. But I think the Roosters' attack was just a little sideways. It wasn't engaging the line. There were not enough short passes and then wrap down the short side to take advantage of it. It was almost like, let's just come for a big sweeping play, and it just sent the attack sideways. So, yeah, look, Sam Walker set up that try for Crichton. It was game on 12-10. But I think there was multiple opportunities that some of the Roosters could have had towards the second half, but yardage errors, couple of penalties, just didn't get enough field position for them to capitalise.
It was just the same old story, wasn't it, for the Roosters?
Yeah, I feel like Savala and Walker will be disappointed in their performances tonight, especially their kicking game in the second half. As we touched on, they were a little bit lateral in the second half, side to side. They didn't really get into any ascendancy to put a good kick in, and that gave the Sharks good field position. So, no, they didn't really fire a shot tonight.
They weren't patient. They weren't patient enough, So all of a sudden, Teddy's out the back on both edges as well. He's generally one of his strengths this year is going through the middle, So they didn't really set up their attack at all. No. It was, like I said, very sideways. But that's when your leadership's got to come in it as well, So I know that you got to take responsibility for yourself for those errors, and but it sort of cost them dearly tonight.
Yeah,
And I reckon that's the reason why they lost the game. And
then when the Roosters started giving those errors and the field position away, it just allowed the snowball of pressure on that scoreboard to come into play. Then they're trying to risk it. And I like, when you talk about composure and just doing high percentage plays, I think Brailey did a good job. He didn't overplay his hand from dummy half. Yep. When he realised he had forward momentum, he just kept it nice and short. And that's what I mean about building the game. A lot of short passes and then jump off the back of that, because once Brailey was running a couple of short passes because he knew his middle forwards were just cracking the door a little bit. He then got the ball to Trindall when he needed to. So I think it was not the best performance by any stretch from Brailey, but it was very composed, great leadership, and a good captain's knock on the way he went about it.
He's been ultra consistent all year. And again, like you said, I don't think there was any really five-star performances on the field by either team, but Brailey still was effective. You can see he threw that final pass to Toby. He made a couple of nice little runs out of dummy half. This was the biggest player of the game, and he was the one that delivered it.
He must take pressure off his halves. You know, it's great when you're playing with a 9 that's so creative around the ruck, and Brailey is that. He gets out off quick rucks, as we spoke about. He's deceptive with his ball playing, and it must be a treat for Trindall and Hines to play off the back of.
We just spoke about the attack going sideways. With 5 minutes to go in the game, game in the balance, instead of going sideways to the halves, he just realises Tedesco's stand, the first defender off the ruck. Toby Rudolph ran over Tedesco like not too many other people have. Mike Acevo did it a few years ago, but it was great ball playing from Brailey. Just to realise that, you know what, I don't need to go for the big play at the back to Hines. Short pass, big body, over the line.
There was moments in the game, particularly that second half, when momentum started to change. There was Brailey out of dummy half, keeping it straight, starting to run, being more direct. And then at the back end of the game, where they got opportunities again with fatigue, you know, he was his guile that, you know, set Toby over.
Look at some of these pictures. This is what it means to the Sharks. Playing at home in a suburban ground, that's a big, powerful run from a forward. Adam Fanua-Blake gets all the highlights for the Sharks, but Toby Rudolph charges over, isolates Tedesco, hit him with everything he had, and once he gets his ball down, the Cronulla Sharks fans go up. The intensity from the players in behind. Look at this. Fanua-Blake, Nico Hines comes in. That's a big moment there for the game, but also for the Sharks.
I think it's excitement, but also relief. You know, just the energy let out after scoring that try.
He's hamming it up there, big
He's fired up, Toby. He's going back to the fans. He's got the Shark.
They'll gain a lot of confidence out of this win tonight. As we touched on, the pressure's been on them coming into these finals campaigns. Yeah. To get a big scalp like the Roosters, they'll gain a lot of confidence heading into next week.
Well, they realise semi-final football is not about, you know, executing really well at times. It's around scrapping and, you know, finding ways to win. And tonight, with their intensity defensively, that's how they won. They won the game, and they created errors in the Roosters' attack. So, you know, they'll grow from that. They'll get better next week.